Hello to you all and welcome to IMPROVATE's International Innovation Conference. IMPROVATE is a platform for creating long-lasting connections, enabling change makers in technology and decision makers in government to make progress through innovation. IMPROVATE is all about finding solutions and sparking collaborations that will improve the quality of life for people around the world. Today, we will be discussing how the world is showing the first signs of being on the way to emerging from the global crisis and how innovation and technology will enable us to learn, travel, and improve health systems in the post-COVID world. Joining us today from Belgrade, President Rosen Plevnilev, the President of Bulgaria between 2012 and 2017. And here at the studio, IMPROVATE's founder and chair, Irina Nevzlin. And throughout this special broadcast, we will be hearing from ministers and ambassadors from Greece, Serbia, Montenegro, Poland, and Bulgaria. And of course, a key pillar of IMPROVATE conferences, leading Israeli innovation companies presenting technological solutions that will take the world beyond the current crisis. Kamada, Zebra Medical Vision, Data EdTech Labs, Sivan, Tempramed Israel, Innovitech Medical Solutions, Janix, HD Bioimaging, SOPI, and the Jerusalem Development Authority. Education, one of the key sectors that was affected by the pandemic is the education system. Hundreds of millions of kids of all ages around the world have been stuck at home for almost an entire year. Universities are closed, and the world found itself having to rapidly switch to e-learning. While there are sociological and educational implications to this, there are also opportunities to rethink methods of education, especially with children who are so digitally aware and capable. Data EdTech, that's the first company will present, EdTech Labs, with a solution to an educational system for group thinking and learning. Dr. Schneider has extensive experience in the development and promotion of integrated technological educational systems in Israel and abroad. Data EdTech Labs is going to present the Brain Station, a unique learning group learning platform to build a digital desk equipped with sensors, integrated software, which allows implementing highly complex educational challenges in the experimental and challenging learning environment. Let's take a look.
Introducing Brain Station, an innovative system for group learning through play and illustration. A digital system that integrates sensors and artificial intelligence. Brain Station creates a unique learning experience. The writable desk with its integrated screen is designed for students of all ages, for learning writing, reading, math, geometry, basic concepts, and more. Brain Station is also designed for group play, a major change from isolating technologies today. Additionally, Brain Station includes physical game kits adapted for learning and group games. The table's height can be adjusted as needed and even made accessible for wheelchairs. Brain Station provides a real solution for educators and students' needs. Active learning and greater student involvement in the lesson. A learning process that is based on discourse, interaction, and reciprocity between group members. Personal and differential student progress according to their skills. While understanding and internalizing the material, students develop social skills, such as cooperation, listening, and teamwork, and even practice skills such as general coordination and hand-eye coordination. We invite you to experience the unique and fun learning experience that is Brain Station, the smart and innovative table that will change the way we learn.
Yes, Alexander Schneider, Data EdTech educator and educational researcher. Hello to you again.
Hello.
Dr. Schneider. Is it already possible to assess the effect the pandemic had on our education system?
Well, no doubt that the coronavirus pandemic really posed a challenge to the education world. The same way the medical world were requested to find a solution, and immune was invented. Same way, education system will have to do similarly and try and find a solution. The world that we're going into will not be the same as the one we knew. Education system will need to respond to that. And for that, they need some educational innovation. And educational innovation requires technological innovations as well.
Yes. And can you point out major changes that would be taking place today in the world of education towards the future? You said technology, but let's try to, understand exactly what.
Yeah, we have to teach our students that in the future, that learning can be anywhere and anytime, not necessarily at school, not necessarily at the classroom.
My daughter proved it in the bed.
That's the best place to learn right away. And learning is a lifetime process. It's a lifelong process in which you have, according to the circumstances and changes that we're facing, just like today, you will have to learn at any age, facing changing circumstances. And the thing is, and the most important thing, is that more means and equipments will be available to them than before. And they should know how to make use of them. And the important thing, the most important thing, I think, is that in the past, usually, like your daughter, they were tested and evaluated and taught and learned individually. This is over. Future world needs group thinking. If you look around and see what's happening in, like the immune, it was not developed by one man that an apple fell on his head. It was developed by a group. High-tech companies, they are all working in groups.
Brainstorming together.
That's right. This is something that has to be part of the new thinking for education. No more individual thinking. It is all combined group thinking that enable you to make use of the benefits and the strengths of each and any one of the students that you are teaching and have a product that is the combined product of all of them.
So how do you think the system presented addresses the needs of the education during this period and also in future needs?
Okay, the brainstorm station is a system that enables a group to think and work together. The main idea behind it is not an individual student that sits by a computer and works by himself. You are working as a group, and as a group, you can actually develop things. Each one can contribute his abilities, his personal abilities, and do the best for the group. If you're looking at a group of children, each one of them is good and really can prove himself in a different area. And once they work as a group and think together, one can draw better, one can think faster, one can describe what he's doing. Once you integrate it all, the product is a much better product. And the combination of this high-tech table that we see in here with the way or new pedagogy can really bring us to places that we have not been there before.
And how do you plan to extend the system? You presented so that more communities can enjoy it.
Yes. We are working now on the development of the system for multi-age groups. We're working on teens. If you saw the movie, you can see that mainly it was young people that were using it. We're trying to develop the system now for teens, for high school students like your daughter, that we're able to, instead of doing her own test today, she'll be able to do it among a group. And I think that the results will actually reflect her ability as well as the other children's ability.
Will accelerate all of them.
That's right. And we're working, and one other thing we see is the challenge, I think, for educational system in the future is work with population with special needs. I think that this system can enable those students that have special needs, all kinds of special needs, really present their abilities among a group of students.
Thank you so much. That sounds exciting, and good luck to you, Dr. Schneider.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now we're ready to go to Deputy Minister Ms. Karina Angelieva. Thank you so much for being with us here today.
Thank you too.
Technology.
Now you can hear me.
Yes, I can. Technology has played a huge role this year. What kind of technology would you like to integrate into education system in your country?
This year also, last year, of course, show that there is exponential opportunities in education and science, and of course the technology play a very big role. Our goal, and we are already working on this, of course, is to establish an educational cloud where we provide opportunities not only for methodologies and innovations that can be approached and used from the teachers, but of course resources. I am very impressed from the video now that you show, and technologies play a big role to develop this teamwork, this group thinking, but also to discover and to explore and to scale up the individual needs of some kids and students, but also their talents. This is very important, and this is what we now understood within this crisis, that we should really focus on how to explore more the talents and to foster the skills of the students through technologies, but also through resources. And last but not least, we shouldn't forget, of course, and this is we show in the crisis, talking with the ministers all over the world, that very often we were underestimating that also some basic technologies are very important. I'm talking for laptops or computer means, because we shouldn't somehow allow the digitalization to enlarge the gap in the society. We need to have inclusive digital education. This is extremely important for us.
Yes. When do you expect the education system to get back to normal?
What does it mean, back to normal? It's a question
schools,
for all of us.
kindergartens.
It's very important to go back to school. Even with technologies, we have to work together. We have to work not in a social distance and social isolation. We need to work together, because what are the technologies without the human approach, without collaborating together, and even introducing and working more on artificial intelligence in education, because this is our next challenge, where we want to explore artificial intelligence for monitoring and diagnostics of the school system and of the learning outcomes. But we need to also invest in a physical new environment in schools, new environment which allows to use the technologies, but also to explore and not to forget the social dimension of education, which is extremely important.
Yes. Would you like to relate to that, Dr. Schneider? She talked about the sociological effect also of being together, not only technology.
We're talking about, when we are aiming for the future, we are talking about the fact that we would like our students to be oriented in two things. First of all, we want them to be computer-oriented. We want them to know how to work with computerized and communication system of all sort of kind. We don't know yet what will be developed. We see this system, but there are other systems that might be developed in the future. So we want them to be computer-oriented. The second one, which is the most important one, is we want them to be emotionally oriented. We want them to know how to work with other children or other people, to understand feelings, to know how to communicate with them, to understand the group motivation and to respond to it. And this, she's right, because I think that this is one of the most important things in education. In Hebrew, we say, love the others as yourself. Mm-hmm. We have to teach them that. That's an old saying, but today it is as important as it was before.
Don't forget that.
Yeah. and know how to work with other people, whether they're from Poland, Bulgaria, and it doesn't matter where, what the color, what the sex, who are they. If they're human beings, you have to know how to work with them, cooperate, and understand them.
Thank you so much for being with us today, Dr. Schneider.
Thank you.
Dr. Jaroslav Cwejg-Karpowicz, Scientific and Economic Counselor at the Embassy of the Republic of Poland in Tel Aviv. Thank you for joining us today. You're here with us. How is the education system operating in Poland these days?
If I may describe one word of the Polish educational system, I think that this system is extremely competitive. It means that both teachers and students they are working under the constant pressure before the pandemic and also nowadays to be as good as their colleagues in West European or North American countries. And for example, among OECD countries, almost every year there are a ranking of our students, so-called PISA test, and Poland is quite successful. Now we are on the fourth position among all Western European and North American OECD members after Finland, Estonia, and Canada. But I think this is very positive. But
yes.
On the other hand, I think we still lack some kind of psychological assistance, help for our kids, and especially now during the pandemic, that kids can compete and be very strong, but they are very weak, and they need very strong relations, what Dr. Schneider said. And to be honest, during the pandemic, it would be extremely difficult to invent such a innovative approach, and
especially with remote learning.
Exactly, to keep relations and to develop their let's say, self-confidence.
Sustainability, like personal. When do you think it will go back to normal, schools and education system?
Officially, each country decided to release restriction step by step, gradually. So I think, and in Poland is not the exception, but I think it will be extremely difficult to come back to the situation like it was before the pandemic. And so that's why I think that we now need to make a great work and to be much better prepared, because it's not only the problem in Poland. I believe in many countries that we really need specialists who are working, psychologists, who may provide mental care for our kids. And this is, we like
Very
this.
interesting. We're talking about education. You're talking about mental health and support for children. That's very important. Have you implemented during the pandemic new technologies in the education field? Are you interested in in learning about new technologies in education?
Of course. I think this is a question rather to head of schools. We may say that in private schools in Poland, the situation is much better than the public ones. However, we try to implement everything what is new and what's tested positively and have a positive effect. So I think that Poland is like another developed countries in this regard, and the Polish educational system is very much similar to the Israeli one.
Thank you so much. You'll probably see some technologies here. Maybe it will be interesting for the Poland education system. Thank you. Now we'll talk to Ms. Sania Damjanovic. Thank you for being with us today.
So good afternoon, everybody. It's also my pleasure to participate in this panel. But I myself now find myself maybe that I'm in wrong panel because I was Minister of Science in Montenegro, but not science and education. And if you would allow me, I would a little bit deviate from the education topic, but to show you how Montenegro sees strength via innovation and technology. And also because you introduced me as a chairperson of a special project, I would also like later to have a chance to show you what innovation power we are now bringing to Southeast Europe and facing a big challenge, and this is health, actually cancer care. So,
so go for it.
Sorry.
Yeah, I'm with you. This was the year that science challenged, it's not only about education, but it challenged the world. What are the opportunities you see in adopting new technologies in all aspects of life? So.
Actually, I always like to talk with pictures, so I prepare a few slides. And what I want just first to address that COVID actually showed us something which we knew before, meaning that we live in the best world ever, and still our world is not sustainable. So obviously what we need transformation for sustainable development. And there is a nice recipe, which is also introduced by European Commission, which is called Smart Specialization Strategy. And what is also all we know is that UN already set up Agenda 2030 with 17 Sustainable Development Goals. A European Commission, actually President of European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, also set up a Green Deal roadmap with the goal that by 2050, Europe should be first climate neutral continent. Now, if we talk about sustainable development, what this really means, it means transforming the world. And what are the instruments to transform the world? The instruments are research innovation, but not research innovation in the closed system like at universities and some research center, but throughout through, let's say, 18 Sustainable Development Goal, which is called Smart Specialization Strategy. So for a small system like Montenegro, as you know, Montenegro is one of the smallest European countries, a little bit more than 600,000 inhabitants. And for these small countries, it is really, really important that you have, in absolute term, everything small number of researchers, small GDP in absolute term. It's very important to be smart to see where you want to direct these forces. So I'm very proud to tell you that we work on this mass specialization strategy together with European Commission, Joint Research Center, which is science in European Commission. And we came to our strategic priorities. And this I show you here is sustainable agriculture and food value chain, energy, sustainable environment, and sustainable and health tourism. And also we are proud that Montenegro is indeed the first non-EU candidate country to adopt this smart specialization strategy. We adopted in December 2019 before COVID crisis. But what I want to tell you is that even now we already see, and actually ICT sector is horizontal priority, but we now already see transformation in Montenegro. I just want to flash you here that Montenegro, as a small country, can be large. And we are becoming, in terms of energy, regional green energy hub. Why regional green energy hub? You know, the Southeast Europe is so much rich in sun, so many sunny days. And we, up to now, practically did not use all these forces. If you compare how much fuel is left for Europe, I think only 100 years. And so now in Montenegro, we are building the largest solar power plant in the region, 250 megawatts. We have many wind power plants. I'll show you here one beautiful, because it's the highest altitude, wind power plant on the highest altitude in Europe. Now, by building more using green energy, at the same time, I also want to emphasize that we have an extremely beautiful project. It is submarine electrical cable between Montenegro, Italy, more than 400 kilometers, investment of 1 billion. What I want to say now, Montenegro is now connected also with all other Western Balkan countries in the region. And what we are now becoming a country which can, through which now green energy can go to Western Europe. I just want to flash another important point. We talk about tourism. There is a huge potential in Little Montenegro for health tourism. And in terms of rehabilitation, interesting number is that in Montenegro, per capita, we have more physiotherapists, but really very professional than, for example, in Germany. And I also want to say that we have also big potential for organic food, not to produce mass production of the food, but for organic food. And finally, and maybe to return to education system. In our region, in Montenegro, but region of Southeast Europe, we have a big problem of brain drain. Not only individuals, we are losing permanently our best talented people, but we are also losing companies. And we did not have attractive innovation ecosystem in Montenegro. We were always jealous on Israel, how Israel managed to really boost young people to be leader in technology. And I'm proud to tell you that we now adopted a very attractive legal framework for innovation, a lot of tax incentives for startups, and coming now to the topic what I did not address at the beginning, education. I can tell you in Montenegro, we managed to adapt our system very fast. Why? Because our innovative companies, young people, help teachers and then and also on voluntarian base. So the system was really working very fast, and this is probably something which is benefit of a small country, because it's small inertia, and being small, it's not always weak. So I would like here to thank you this moment, but later I would like to have opportunity to show you a big project which Montenegro initiated for Southeast Europe.
Thank you so much. Now I'd like to conclude and ask everyone from this panel, this session, I'd like to ask you all what you have learned from the crisis and how will it change your behavior policy in the future. Dr. Schneider, would you like to make a comment?
Well, I think that what we realize that the crisis is very much alike in all those countries that we have witnessed. And I do believe that we should share knowledge, combine our strength, and work together to find solutions.
Thank you. Deputy Minister Angeliva.
Thank you very much. We talk a lot and we heard a lot, but I think that two more aspects are very important. We are talking about using digitalization so that to have from education to creation, to turn our kids into the creators of the new technologies, but also, of course, to meet the new challenges, especially the ecosystem of and the nature and the future optimization and using of resources of this planet. So it's very important to bring back to school and to the universities our young generation, to show them that they shouldn't fear from the technologies, to know them, how to use them. But we should invest much more in teachers, in cooperation with the business, so that we equip the teachers and the students how to create also the future technologies and to meet the challenges around us.
I like that. From education to creation. I'm adopting that.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Minister Damjanovic, would you like to comment on what you're taking with you?
We learned that we all have the same home, which is our planet. And secondly, I think we also learned that globalization, internationalization is very important. Yes. And we can see production of vaccine, and that would not happen without cooperation. From the Montenegrin point of view, we also learned that our economy cannot only rely on tourism, because 1/4 of our GDP is the tourism, and we are now presently facing a very bad economic situation. And that's why I think now our future after COVID, I think, is going to be different.
Thank you. Dr. Jaroslav Kapovic, your comments?
During the Second World War, the British Prime Minister Winston Churchill asked his Minister of Finance, if you want to cut all spendings for culture and education and spend everything on new tanks and ships, what are we fighting for? So I think that during this crisis, we should not forget that investments in culture, in much more broader things than only technical solutions are extremely important.
Very important. I'm learning many new things today. Thank you very much. Thank you all, and I hope it won't be long till the kids and the students around the world will be able to go back to schools and universities again. Thank you. Thank you. And remember, IMPROVATE is about making practical changes, exposing Israeli tech innovators to governments and companies around the world to promote businesses whose goal is innovation and helping countries further their development. The exposure right here at this conference is just the first step, followed up by delegations and real-time business connections. Okay, our final question today is for President Plevnilev. You're with us today again. Thank you for joining us the whole day. You're IMPROVATE's partner in bringing technology and innovation to Eastern Europe. From what you have seen today, do you see any potential for collaboration between Israeli tech and innovation companies with governments in Southeast Europe?
A lot. Just look at how many countries have been represented today. How many ministers, deputy ministers, bankers, owners of big touristic resorts, hotels, to small companies, they're all have been so interested on this another exciting, extraordinary, important IMPROVATE conference. Just as the vaccines are coming, the hope is coming that everything's going back to normal. But the world is changing, and as we see, the crises are giving and taking chances. Now, this crisis might be giving a chance, and we see such an amazing push for better products, better education, a better healthcare in Israel, and we're all sharing your vision, your hard work, and your innovation, and we are very impatient to see Israeli companies and products to our markets. On the other side, the crisis might be also, I'm sure Israel is going to grab this chance and be better, progress even more fast as up to now, using the crisis opportunity. But many other countries, many other governments, many other companies might be taken a chance. If you do not reform, if you do not modernize, if you do not bring your education or your healthcare to the requirements of a modern state, if you do not show a good governance, no matter today, a good governance is needed. And that is very important for all those countries we saw that are having a great potential, but that's not enough. We need to unlock this potential. Southeast Europe is wonderful, exciting part of Europe. It's prospering, is moving up, it's peaceful, it's beautiful. It is a strategic partner of Israel. It is very close to Israel. It is a natural place where Israeli people, businesses, and politicians are always welcome, feel well. But we can do more. And I'm very impatient to welcome delegations from Israel in Southeast Europe. And we from Southeast Europe are very impatient to come back to Israel. It's something that is not just natural. It is a partnership that makes sense. It's full of love. It's full of positive energy, innovation, as you see it, and future. And we will build that future together. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you for those warm words. And that's it from IMPROVATE's Innovation Conference. We've heard today from Eastern European government officials, local companies, and from Israel's leading innovation and tech companies about new technologies and opportunities beyond the current crisis. IMPROVATE is all about access and connections, exposing Israeli tech leaders to governments and companies around the world to promote businesses whose goal is innovation. The exposure right here at this conference is just a first step. The next step, delegations and real businesses connections. We want to thank you all for taking part and hope this is just a start of doing business together, making technology accessible to all and improving the lives of people across the world. A special thanks to the Jerusalem Development Authority and to the innovation companies who presented here: Kamada, Zebra Medical Vision, Data EdTech Labs, Sivan, Tempramed Israel, Innovitech Medical Solutions, Genix, HD Bioimaging, and SOPI. Keep an eye out for IMPROVATE's community on Africa conference next week, January 28th, in partnership with Spacecom, presenting to African leaders the advantages of using satellite communication to advance all aspects of life. Thank you so much for joining us, and see you